All set.
Yes, we are live now, and I'm now broadcasting.
Ooh. Yep, you can see the participants.
Yes.
Do we have a poll as well, Hemant?
We have a couple of polls, yes.
Great. So
Okay,
that
so
will come in between the questions. When I switch to another speaker, you can tell me when you would like to do that.
Sure.
And don't give it more than 20 to 30 seconds. Right?
30 seconds with 15 seconds for the results.
Yep.
Okay, now since people are joining in, let me officially welcome everyone to 2020, the IIID Design Webinar Series, which is jointly conducted by 7 chapters of IIID: Delhi, Goa, Jaipur, Mumbai, Chandigarh, Mangalore, and Coimbatore. I would like to thank some of the. Second, I think there's some sound on somewhere. Is anyone getting an echo, or am I the only one getting it?
There's a slight feedback.
Yes, I thought that. Maybe my phone will be good. Okay, sorry. So, thank you goes out to my 6 fellow chairpersons. Okay, one second. Yeah, that should be okay now.
Yep. Better.
There was still some.
Okay now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you to 6 of my fellow chapter chairpersons. I think we still have that problem here.
Coming back. Have you logged in from 2 instruments by any chance? Hemant.
No, I haven't. I'm just trying to see.
There is a speaker facing your microphone.
Is it okay now? Yeah. I think that's all. Okay, so once again, welcome to 2020. I would like to thank my fellow chairpersons from the different chapters. Siddharth Naik from Goa, who is one of our speakers today. Anshuman Sharma from Jaipur, Leena Nimbalkar from Mumbai, Ashima Vashish from Chandigarh, Mohammad Nisar from Mangalore, and Geeta Karthikeyan from Coimbatore. I also like to thank our head office, who's been very supportive in our series. Jabin Zakarias, our president, Jignesh Modi, honorary secretary, and also mentor for the Delhi chapter, and Tanuja VK, our president-elect. First, I'd like to thank Welspun Flooring for their support and sponsorship of this webinar series. Thank you very much. And Ritu, could you run their 2-minute video so that we can see what their product is about? Ritu, can we have sound also, please?
There's no sound.
Oh, sorry, this is the PPT. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I was too used to hearing that video with sound, so I was actually wondering something's gone wrong, but it wasn't. And firstly, I would like to start by introducing the panelists. And first one, of course, is Siddharth Naik. And before that, Siddharth, any words from you about the webinar series? Since this is the first time you're on live on this series now.
Yeah, thank you, Hemant, and IIID Delhi for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion. I would also like to thank IIID Delhi for inviting us, IIID Goa. I would like to thank as a chairperson of IIID Goa to be part of this. The topics and the discussions, the knowledge spread by the various panelists will go a long way in creating a positive dialogue post-COVID, the design practice of individual designers as well as policymakers. So I think it's a very good initiative, and thank you once again, Hemant.
Thank you, Siddharth. And I'd like to know.
Nilanjan, I guess there's some issue with Hemant's internet.
Is creating sensorial.
Hemant,
Yeah.
We couldn't hear you for the last 1 minute.
Yeah, you'll have to go through it again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Siddharth Naik is an architect. He's established his firm Ulysis in 1997. He's based out of Panjim in Goa. 2 decades of experience. The firm's pivotal belief is creating sensorial experience, transcending into planning, pragmatic and responsive design. His varied design portfolio has been critical, regionalist, and rational, gaining inspiration from site, context, local culture, and applied sciences. In consequence, creating resolution of spatial and experiential language that is attentively curated and illustrious. That was a mouthful. His forte is a keen eye for details and diligent project management. Staying closely involved in all aspects of the project has resulted in providing timely and cost-effective service, thus continued client patronage. Welcome, Siddharth.
Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce the next speaker, who's Ritu Bhatia. Ritu is one of our members from IIID Delhi. So welcome, Ritu. Ritu is one of the founders of IIID India. Her passion for design and hotels started in Singapore, where she has lived for several years. Her career started at the Taj Mahal Hotel, Delhi, thereby getting insight into hotel operations. Designing for hotels was therefore a natural course, and IIID India was born in 1995. Along with the international team and her associates in India, her journey of 25 years has been an amazing experience for her. Along with a young team of design professionals, she has journeyed across India to work on hotel projects ranging from budget, business to luxury hotels and resorts, from new build to renovations, and also specialized areas such as spas and fitness clubs. She has worked with top hotel brands in the country such as Taj, ITC, Fortune, etc., and several international brands such as Accor, IHG, Marriott, Hilton, Shangri-La, and various spa operators. Besides India, she has interacted with consultants and guided her team to take on projects internationally in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and many more. So welcome, Ritu. It's lovely to have you on board.
Likewise, thank you.
Now I would like to introduce Reema Diwan. Hi Reema, it's a pleasure to have you on board, and I've actually seen you after many years, after having worked with you in Starwood many years ago. Yeah. Reema Diwan is a seasoned hospitality, technical services and design expert with a track record of delivering many award-winning hotels. She has redefined hospitality through the series of bespoke and innovative designs. Rishu, I would like you to run her film also while you're at it.
Should I run it without sound?
run it without sound? Yeah, sure. Or you want to run it with sound? Let me just finish. She has a short introduction despite having done a large body of work. So over 2 decades of progressive experience, she has channelized brands like Ginger, Vivanta, Selection, St. Regis, W, Aloft, 4 Points by Sheraton in South Asia. Currently, she is the corporate director, interiors and technical services, driving designs for various brands of IHCL, that's the Indian Hotel Companies Limited, and that's fondly known as the Taj Group of Hotels. She is instrumental in creating brand identity and launching design lead hotels. She likes to explore emerging trends, which are a basis of many of her design inspirations. And now let's run the Taj film.
Hemant, I guess the video is stuck a bit.
I think so.
So maybe you can continue with the introductions.
Welcome, Reema. Lovely to have you on board. Sorry, we'll play that video once again later on.
No worries. Thank you.
And I'd like to Gugliucciello. I hope I got your name somewhat close at least. Marco is
Hemant, we've lost you. Rishu, do you have the introductions at your end?
2 years in India.
Hemant, we lost you in between. We lost you in between. We could not hear any introduction.
I seem to have a rather bad connection, but okay. So Marco has 8 years of experience in FMCG in Asia Pacific working with Unilever. After that, 15 years in Sealy in the Asian Pacific bedding market, working in all major APAC markets from startups to acquisitions, turnarounds, and marketing setups. He has experience across all facets of the industry, strategy, administration, sales, both domestic and hospitality, manufacturing, including 2 years in India. Sealy, the company he works for, is founded by Daniel Haynes in Sealy, Texas in 1881. With the introduction of the iconic Sealy posturepedic mattress in 1949, Sealy has grown into the world's largest mattress brand. Today, Sealy is Asia Pacific's leading premium mattress brand, and with a modest presence of select premium retail stores across India today, some of them I know have been designed by Ritu. Sealy looks forward to continuing to bring a great night's sleep to millions of Indians in the years ahead.
Thank you, Hemant.
Welcome, Marco, and I just hope I got your name right, half right at
No,
least.
perfect.
I
You've
tried
done a
to-
great job.
I tried to rhyme it with limoncello, so that's got me halfway there. And finally, last but definitely not the least, Nilanjan Bhowal, our moderator for the evening. Nilanjan's 2.5 decades of practice spans projects all across the country. A gold medalist in architecture, he did his masters from the Catholic University Belgium and post-graduation specialization in energy efficient architecture from the Istanbul Technical University. Nilanjan's pet passion is creating environmentally sustainable architecture, and he is the recipient of more than 40 national awards from IIIA, IIID, JK Architect of the Year, HUDCO, and has over 200 publications to his credit. So it's rather modest, short introduction, but speaks a lot for the man. So Nilanjan, I'll hand over to you now. I think we want to run a little video about Nilanjan, so let's have that quickly.
There is sound as well in that, I think. Thank you, Hemant. Thank you for the very nice introduction. And we have a great panel here, right from concept designers to hospitality shapers to private resort designers to Marco, who's into the specialized hospitality product. So to set the tone of the panel discussion, what I would do is now a very different but yet a rapid fire question for all the panelists. So this would probably help all the audience to get to know our panelists better and also set the tone for the entire panel discussion. So the first round of questions are going to hit you, Reema. So quick responses, one-word responses, nothing more. So where were you planning to go this summer?
Planning to go. So I think I would like to now go to Moon because there should not be any fear of COVID, if I can.
Great. So the next question comes to you is, would you like to stay at a branded 5-star hotel or a boutique hotel?
Boutique hotel anytime.
A major international popular destination or a quaint one?
Quaint one, anytime.
Thanks, Reema. Thanks for your responses. Now, Marco, you go next. Would you like to go for an international travel or domestic?
International.
Would you like to go as a group vacation or with the family?
With the family.
A cruise or a road trip?
Road trip.
Great. I think most of us are thinking of individual vacations going separately with the family in the post-COVID scenario. Now, Ritu, I'm coming to you. 3 questions, quick responses. So would you prefer the warm hospitality or a cold sanitized space?
Warm hospitality, and that to Indian hospitality.
Wow. Now, when you are there, would you like to eat in the restaurant with a lot of people, or would you prefer ordering in the room?
I'll try the restaurant.
And touchless sliding doors for you, or someone holding the door for you, the guard?
Touchless sliding door.
Thank you, Ritu. And now we come to Siddharth for your round of questions. Since you are from Goa and you've been designing a lot of beachside resorts, but if you are going to travel, so is it going to be a crowded beachside resort or isolated hilltop destination?
Definitely isolated hilltop.
That's interesting. Do you stay in Goa and design for Goa? A carpeted room or a tiled room for you?
Anytime a tiled room.
Safe, yes. And how soon are you going to travel next for leisure?
Tomorrow, if the flights open up.
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists. I think that's a great round. Now we know what the current mindset is. So coming to the setting the theme of our discussions today, just to inaugurate the topic, and for all our attendees, I would like to welcome all our participants today. We know that the travel and tourism hospitality is a huge industry. It amounts to nearly $28 billion in India, which consists of leisure, MICE adventure, the heritage, and the niche. Now, let's face it, hospitality is one of the most affected by the pandemic, and we are looking at a change of mindset for travelers all over the world. However, a very recent survey and also my quick rapid fire round of questions, it was very evident that is quite encouraging and sounds optimistic worldwide. In the recent survey held as late as April 2020, 50% said they would book a trip in 2020 itself. 75% said they will travel with the family. 50% respondents wanted to travel regionally, and 40% were planning to travel internationally, like Marco. So though the old world order does not exist anymore, and hence in the future, what we are looking at is highly affordable, tailor-made, and quaint destinations, which will gradually become the norm. As people are still browsing the net for quick getaways, they are looking for varied and experienced hosts, well-designed spaces, which can assure safety and very stringent hygienic conditions. So with that backdrop, I'd like to pose questions to each panelist, question each. I would request you to keep your responses to 2 to 3 minutes, not very long, so that we can have more questions from the audience later. So Reema, I'd come to you first. The large gathering spaces in hotels, like the banquet halls, convention areas, will not be used for another year now, much. We will not be having so many functions anymore. So what do you think hotels are going to do? Are they going to retain those spaces, or are they going to convert them into more functional ones?
I think that this is a time to reimagine and reinvent yourself. It's not just about making these spaces redundant, because the banquet and the meeting areas. It's actually a time to have a reset and have a restart. Not just like eliminating those spaces and have a restart, that won't work. And to do that, we need to apply design thinking more than ever. Design thinking in the sense, of course, in hospitality, we used to apply design thinking, but I think we need to apply that more than ever by reimagining these spaces, by recreating the experience to make it more comfortable for our guests. So, I mean, some of the elements we might have to challenge, they might have to go. Suppose like having a pre-function area with too much of buffet, or maybe we used to do like, sociable, communal coffee service and stations, which can be used on a sharing basis to have more social interaction. That might go, and we might have to reimagine that experience, space out these spaces to make it more comfortable to maintain social distancing. So all those criteria we need to consider to reimagine these spaces. And I believe that, hospitality, we used to evaluate spaces, we used to like do things with optical illusion. So now it's the we need to think about having superficial illusion to promote our business, to promote our design. And I mean, I am very optimistic. The industry will bounce back. And I believe that this should not be wasted by the industry to come out strong.
Yeah, so we are all looking at very innovative reuse, readaptive uses and creative solutions. You're right. I would like to, look at boutique properties now. So Siddharth, you design a lot of hotels and boutique villas in Goa. Now, when it comes to greenfield projects, which take, 2 years to complete, what would be the scenario then? Will the design parameters change after 2 years, or will you consider them right now and design for them for a greenfield project now?
Okay, let me first start by saying I'm an optimist. Okay, so let's look at the timeline first here, because it's very important. What has happened in December? We discovered the virus. March there was a lockdown. In May we had a partial lockdown. 1.5 lakh cases and odd in India, 4,000 odd deaths. Our population is 138 crores. Present cases of pneumonia, nil. Swine flu, nil. So what has happened to these cases? So everything is being dumped on COVID. So what is happening is there's a fear psychosis. It's as clear as that. Now, if you look at any project, whether it's a boutique hotel or it's a franchise hotel is designed based on capital investment, projections, and the revenue, and the turnaround period. And the funds allocated are from day one. It's not that you are going to start and then start sourcing for the funds. So in that manner, the work has slowed down only because of labor issues or there's material shortage. But because of COVID, right now, there are no drastic changes which have been spoken about in the design sense. Now, when we are looking at the design, boutique fares slightly better. I'll tell you why. Because the first 15 days of the month, every day I would get a call from a client and I was to dread it, because either I would say that they're putting it on hold, or let's see what happens. We do not know the future because of fear psychosis, because of the lockdown. Conferences can't happen. You cannot travel. Leisure tourism is dead, and being in Goa, we are facing the brunt of it. So what was the uncertainties? Uncertainties is that we do not know about the franchisee hotels, but boutique hotels, surprisingly, during the lockdown period, we had 2 or 3 clients coming with briefs and saying that we would like to go further and start working on this brief. That's something very strange, and that was out of the world. So we tried to do a little bit of an exercise. We started calling other clients who have already established the hotels. Okay. And we tried to say that what is the outlook? What do you see as the scenario? And what they told us was something different. They said people have been calling us with bookings. They're saying is that the moment the flights start or the moment the lockdown is taken off, we would like to come and stay in Goa. Now, boutique hotel is somebody who's from the upper niche. You do not have the regular clients. So what they're saying is that because it is a low, it's no frill hotel, a low density, people are feeling more secure, saying that, okay, we do not mind relocating with a family, or we do not mind coming back. And the thing is that they're having 100% bookings post lockdown. So the moment the lockdown is off, they're having 100% bookings. Now, this is something which even I did not anticipate. But saying that, so what I'm saying is that it's a positive sign. See, in these times of gloom where everything is being saying like COVID, so it's a positive sign. Of course, I look it as very positive.
So but will the design parameters
also been
change?
Looking at what?
Yeah, will your design parameters change?
So now what is happening is that we are looking at what is the design intervention, because we have seen that there might be some interventions, especially where there is pool or a spa. you have to do design interventions because you cannot be going into the pool right away. We also have seen that automation has to be thought of now because you have to have minimal touch, voice activated controls, motion sensors. They're also looking at UV-based sanitization for the back of house areas. This is something which has to be seriously thought of. Again, thermal scanners for staff areas.
Yeah, Siddharth, your voice is cracking up a bit, Siddharth. Maybe you speak a little slowly because it's cracking up, or do you want me to come back again for you? Can you just check your connection, maybe?
Do you want to repeat? Do you want me to repeat
Breaking up a lot.
Breaking a lot.
Yeah.
I will just.
Because a lot
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's better. And if you can sum up quickly, yeah, I would request you to sum up your points quickly in maybe a minute or two now.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we are looking into automation big time. That is voice automated controls, motion sensors, UV based sanitization for the housekeeping, thermal sensors also for the staff areas. So these are what are the things which we are looking at, and this will be much more easier to incorporate even the projects which are on, because boutique hotels are smaller projects, so it doesn't affect much in the design parameters. But friends, if everything happens, then we might most probably look into a Star Trek set.
Okay, so great. So from a boutique hotel standpoint, as you mentioned, it's easier. I would like to go to Ritu because you do a lot of hotels. From a design standpoint, what would be the difference in your approach while you're doing a boutique property vis-a-vis a large branded hotel? Yeah, or a multi-brand hotel. Or like,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So a boutique hotel is something which gives us the opportunity to be thinking out of the box and to be more experimental, as well as give the guest a more experiential feel to it. So when we say experiment, is of course not to be experimenting at the client's cost, but experimenting in design so that we can be different. And I think what is interesting in a boutique is that you can do things like have asymmetrical designs, bespoke lighting. You can come up with accent pieces. And in a boutique hotel or resort, we would actually study the locality and the guest target market and put that as the focus. Because you are going there, usually it's a leisure property, and in this case you are not limited by size and number of rooms. You can have a 20-room boutique hotel, or 80 rooms, or it could be spread out, like in Bali you have huge properties. So it really it leaves a lot to the imagination for a designer. And it's not just the interiors, but when you're at a resort, you can actually have the flow of architectural, landscape, and interiors married together. So it widens our horizon a lot. Now, when we go to brands, we are guided by the brand standards. So there we are looking at, and as the name brand itself is, you're looking at certain parameters which are identities. So we study the brand standards. In some cases, the identity could be the color scheme. It could be certain logo elements. It could be definitely the room sizes, and depending on the categories. So the 4-star business hotels even have standard room designs, like your Novotel, a Loft, and Ibis. So we have to keep that in mind.
So how will that change? How will that change now, post-COVID? The design parameters. Will it be easier to tackle a boutique versus a branded?
Sorry, please.
Yeah, that was the question. How post-COVID, how would you face that challenge, or how would you take care of the brand and yet, put in the new norms for design?
Okay. So the intent has to be the same, right? So in post-COVID, we're looking at, I would say probably three main things, which is your physical distancing, touch-free points, and the feeling of safety to the guest. So when you look at these three parameters, it has to be catered for whether you're doing a branded hotel or a boutique hotel. Now, in a branded hotel, we would work with the brand to understand their requirements, because as we speak, the brands are relooking at their SOPs. So we would understand what their requirements are. And in a boutique hotel, you still have to address these. But there you would probably look at it from the scenario of the size of the hotel and the type of, so in a boutique, I would probably do one F&B. I would not, then I would guide the client and say, let's just do one F&B and make that very bespoke. Whereas in a branded hotel, if you're doing a luxury hotel, you do still have to have 2 or 3 F&B. And there are a lot of parameters. So for example, one of the things which we feel should change, you don't have to have elaborate reception counters anymore. They could be pods, they could be smaller. If it's a boutique hotel, you could do away with the reception counter. You still need to have guest interaction. So someone would meet the guest, take them straight to the room. So those are some of the things that we would look at.
Yeah, that's nice. I would like to come to Marco now. Marco, you are providing a finished product for all the hotels. What do you think? Will there be a change in the choice of finishing materials now in terms of furnishing or other materials as well, in terms of the design as well as the selection of the material, for prevention of the virus spread? How will that change?
Look, I can't really comment on sort of furnishing in general, but I can comment about the mattress. And look, we always consider in the design of our mattress is both there's the finished product component, and then there's the actual maintenance of the program of the product. When we're talking about design of the finished product which we manufacture, we're always considerate. We have been pre-COVID, and maybe even more so post-COVID, is making sure we're using materials that have, that are sanitized, antimicrobial. So that's in the design and the construction phase. But will that prevent, that doesn't necessarily stop some of these things that are out there in the market, that have come upon us now. So look, that really then shifts to, we talk about mattress hygiene, and that's really the responsibility of sort of the operators. And we try to talk through with operators what are good hygiene practices with a mattress. So you think about good air circulation, you think about rotating them. We focus on that because we want people, particularly when you're buying a mattress, which, in a hotel, hopefully will last a long time. You want to make sure you've got good practices in place to make sure that the hygiene will be maintained, but also you're going to get the proper experience for the mattress for the life of the product. Right.
Yeah, you're probably making the best mattresses in the world, and that is, I think, something where most people are very conscious about. I know of people who are quite addicted to a particular hotel chain because they know of the particular mattress that they provide. That's a very important factor, and the hygiene of that, would be a very key element. Now,
that is right. Like I said, and look, that is part of the design of our mattresses. When I think of a Sealy mattress, you think of great air circulation, so that's a consideration in our design. We have an inner spring core that provides the support for the back, but that also allows the airflow. So like I said, that sort of airflow is an important part of the hygiene factor, but there's also the outside bit, which is critical, and the fabrics. And like I've pointed out earlier, it's making sure you've got good suppliers who can supply sanitized fabrics that have those antimicrobial properties.
Nice. Great to know that. I'll come back to Reema, because you are heading Taj Group, especially, in the technical services. We know that, now when people travel, the we will have less of the elderly people traveling, probably a little less, and because they would be considered more vulnerable as compared to the younger population, which we call the millennials right now, right? The millennials were roughly close to 40, in the 25 to 38 range. So do you think there would be a change in your design language of your hotels? Because Taj stands for a particular kind of, a luxury. Would you change that because of the new, the backpack and the young travelers? How would you handle that?
So I believe the hospitality trend in last so many years, 4, 5 years, there has been a shift because of millennial travelers. No matter what we do, whether it's a luxury lifestyle, we cannot ignore them.
Yep.
So as Ritu mentioned that earlier we were working on the hotel experience. Now we actually create design to be more experiential.
Right.
The need of experiential design came through millennial travelers only. I mean,
Absolutely.
we were designing hotels to be better. So another hotel has to be better than that, another better than that. So there was like a huge competition, and we were just trying to be better and better. But then comes a point, how much better be? Then millennials came, and then we started utilizing each and every inch of space in our lobbies, in our hotel, to create an experience for them.
Yeah.
Like I can never imagine like a couple of years back doing a quiet box or maybe doing a chair with all those connections in which you can plug in your phone, you can plug in and have your music going.
Right.
But we have done that now. So the experience is totally reimagined. So, I mean, in terms of changing the design approach because of the demography, I don't think so, because there's already been a shift in the industry because of the demography. So there's no change in that, but yes, we cannot ignore that there will be some variables which we might now have to consider. Like earlier, we were designing hotel lobbies to be more communal, social gathering spaces. Now we might have to maybe move towards more individual experience.
Yeah. See, that's the millennial mindset. We were studying recently for some other projects that my daughters are in that category as well, that they would rather live very frugally. Otherwise, they might just stay in one denim for a week and travel in that. But for an experience, they might just spend a lakh of rupees. They might just spend a lakh on just bungee jumping, just for the experience. So I think that's a great point. If you've been already, fine tuning and kind of changing your language and vocabulary already, that will be a smooth transition then for you. That's right. Now, Siddharth, now let us come to some little bit of the interior of the hotels and interior spaces and some bit of, technical things that are quite pertinent. And a lot of us have these questions that when we think of the design of the heating and the ventilation systems in hotels, how will we change that to prevent the spread of any airborne viruses? We have the smoking rooms, non-smoking rooms, and we as Indians, we have a habit of smoking in the room. So there could be a lot of, contamination of the indoor air quality. So do you think those designs will also change now, coming to the interior ventilated space, because it's very, very critical, the quality of indoor space?
In fact, this was precisely the question which was bounced back last week by one of the operators, and the question which myself and the HVAC consultant we had to ask them a question was that, see, right now there is no literature, there's no white paper, there's no research on COVID. Yeah. So what is COVID? We just know that it spreads through touch or through droplets. So you need some research, you need some parameters to work on designs. Now let us look at how the hotels work. The bigger hotels definitely have segregation of air conditioning for the rooms, a separate unit. You have for the back of house separate unit. So already it is segregated. You also have treated fresh air which is pumped into the various spaces. So that is already happening, but this is happening at the 5-star level, 4-star level. At the lower 3-star
Budget
or the
hotels
lower
probably
range,
not.
this doesn't happen. Now, look at a scenario, okay? Even before COVID, if somebody had a flu and he checked into a hotel, everything was fine, right? And we know that flu also is infectious. So now the question which was asked to us was that if flu was fine, how bad is COVID? And we could not answer to them because no one has the data. But suppose COVID has a mortality rate of 10%, then definitely everyone will start looking at it. There would be a panic buttons pressed. Right now, panic buttons are not pressed, but at the moment, what we have been told is to relook at the back of house operations. Now, this is something which does not happen in design. These are SOPs which are by the brands, which are by the operators. So they are looking into how to segregate the operations to have minimum physical context. Again, banqueting, they're trying to relook at. Laundry services is again a big challenge. So what they have told us that they are going to relook at it, reconfigure it, and based on the inputs, we will most probably have to relook into the designs, because until unless that comes, you cannot go to the design board. So I think this is one of the
Yeah,
issues
that's
which
an
will
interesting
crop
point.
up.
Yeah, that if we allow, people with flu, so far we've allowed them to walk in and stay in the rooms. It's just about, the mortality aspect of COVID, and it's, of course, very easily transmitted on a much faster rate. And people are pressing the panic button already because of that. So coming to that, it just made me think that I'm sure the vaccine is going to be out in a year, maybe 1.5 years. Now, Ritu, I'd like to pose you a question. Now, suppose the vaccine is out after a year or 2 years. Would our hotels come back to the old design? Will people just start moving around freely and come back to the same design? Or do you think we should evolve a new design typology, what we call for the hospitality, keeping in mind a future pandemic? Because our generation has seen the first one, but certainly this is not the last one. So do you think there should be a totally new typology which can take care of any future pandemics?
So I wish I had a crystal ball and I could give you an exact answer, but to see the future. But some things the way I look at it, you have the current immediate future, which is what we're going to be in for the next 6 months. That's probably the least in terms of dealing with this. And then you have the future, like you said, what's going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, or if it comes back. Interestingly, I did hear someone on a panel in US who said people are already going to hotels and they are seeing two types of guests. Those who are very, very cautious, and another set of guests who actually do not want to be reminded about it and want to feel the warmth of hospitality. And to me, the safest place to be today is in a hotel, because hotels actually have always been very considerate in housekeeping, and they are already upping the game in how they're sanitizing and housekeeping and cleaning the hotel. So now to answer your question, for the future, what we can start with is, yes, things like you need to have the sanitization cubicles at the entrance doors. I think that's something we need to start planning, just like we started with the baggage scanners. That has to be less intrusive for the guests. So when a guest comes to the hotel, you have to talk to them about sanitizing, temperature check, but we need to work with the architect and interiors to see that it's done comfortably for a guest who's come from a long journey. As I said earlier, that the reception, I think technology is going to play the biggest role here. And if I can take 1 quick minute, interestingly, my father's he had written a book called, I don't know if you can see it, Hotel Bill Gates. So he wrote this in 2009, and I'll just very quickly read a line from it. And I remember this when this whole thing started.
When was this book written? How long back?
2009.
Oh,
And
almost 11 years back.
he's written year 2015 in the book. He says, as I entered the large lobby, I did not find a soul. There was a counter on which it was written reception. I walked to the reception and there was no staff. I made my booking through mobile and had received a confirmation and a special check-in code. A pretty young lady appeared on the screen. I noticed that there were 3 large screens of 72-inch on the opposite wall. The receptionist asked him basically, please keep your right hand on the glass plate for 5 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Bhatia. All your data is now recorded with the central office of the hotel group. Whenever you check in the future, you will not have to register again. And during your stay, you can use your index finger to open your room and access any of the services. So this is what we have to design for, the technology, so that you have less touch points. And very quickly in interiors, I would say we need to do surfaces which can be cleaned quickly so that housekeeping can be in and out of the room faster. Yes, you still need to have the warmth and softness that interiors brings. But we probably have to look at hard floorings. We'll have to look at less accessories in the room, and probably have accessories which are more on demand, so that if a guest needs it, it's brought to the room, so that housekeeping again has less things to clean.
Yeah, Ritu, one of from our audience, Priyanka Khattar, wants to know about the book name. The name of the book again.
It's called Hotel Bill Gates and Other Stories. It was self-published, and I think he chose Hotel Bill Gates as a name because at that time he was the one who was the most futuristic in his outlook in his business.
Yeah, please continue.
So like I was saying, so for interiors, what we can plan is for the near future. And looking at things like in F&B, people have started working on materials where you can have divider screens between the guests. But again, in interiors, we want to plan it in such a way that it's not intrusive and it's not a reminder to the guest. I am seeing some, designs on the internet where it's like you're wearing, you're going to a parlor and you wear that. In the olden days, you had that warm, the hair dryer, and you're putting your head in it. Now, I don't think a guest wants to be encapsulated and sitting in a capsule. But yes, you can have the distancing in a way. You can create interesting screens. One thing which I think is a good idea is also the private dining space, which till now was not given much importance, and it was more like a USP for a restaurant. But I think going forward, I would actually like to see private dining spaces coming back, because there, again, you're giving the guest an experience, and you can give the guest the feeling of being away from people at the same time, again, not being reminded about it. And from a revenue generating area, a hotel may even want to look at, doing it and charging for it. And I'm sure people wouldn't mind paying a little extra, knowing that they actually have their little private space in a restaurant. So there is a lot we can do without, again, I'm repeating, without being reminded each time about being in a fear, without the fears in space. Because like Siddharth and Reema said, I'm also very optimistic that we are going to slowly get out of this.
Yeah. So all the checks and controls have to be very non-intrusive and very seamless, because when we are traveling, we are all looking forward to that experience, a welcoming experience, leisurely experience, and not being reminded of the distancing part. Yeah, that's very important. And these will be very critical parameters. And, coming to something like we all have been talking about that, most of us are very hopeful and we are all looking forward to vacations now. And Marco, what do you think about this? Is something on a different line. Do you think the state or the governments can also help in boost the hospitality in some way? Like running a subtle digital or a social media campaign to promote incentives. Like in India, we had this Incredible India campaign, and now to remove the fear from the mind of the people and to promote tourism again. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, I think both governments, whether they be local governments or national governments, local tourism authorities, hoteliers. I think everyone has a role to play in bringing the confidence back. Like you said earlier, there's already an underlying demand for people wanting to get back out again. But, you know, I think it is everyone's responsibility as part of the industry to play a role in bringing people back. So that's the first point. And the other thing, I think, you know, we can be very creative, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of talk at the moment about travel bubbles and holidaying locally. And I think of a place like India, it has so many incredible things to offer, not only locals, but to the whole world. So the idea of promoting local holidays, you know, you don't have to travel far out of a major city to actually enjoy a break. And I think that's something that people shouldn't either. So the idea to holiday local is important, and local can mean within, you know, 50 or 100 kilometers of your home, or it could mean, you know, a short flight away. But it is everyone's role, I think, in the industry to promote that. And you use the word subtle. I think we've got to be a little bit more
loud,
a bit louder than subtle. Yeah, I think it's very important.
Yeah, I think it will change gradually. We will come back, bounce back. The tourism, the travel industry, as well as the hospitality. Hemant, I can see a lot of questions. Would we go to audience questions, or do you want to host a poll?
I have a few very interesting questions that have come in.
Or does Rishu have a poll for the audience?
Yeah, I think let's run the polls first, and then let's see if the audience has changed their mind or they agree with the panelists or not. Rishu, can you run the first poll, please?
Yeah, a quick round of...
and everyone gets 30 seconds to vote, including
so,
the panelists.
Yeah, so the questions are here. So when would you go on your next holiday abroad? International travel. So immediately after the lockdown opens, 0 to 6 months, 6 months to 2 years, or not before the vaccine is out. We have 10 seconds left now. 9, 8, 7. Submit your opinions. Can the panelists also vote?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Wow. Here's a very interesting thing that people are still going to wait for the vaccine to come out. That's interesting. And
that brings me, Nilanjan, to my first question.
Yeah.
Anshuman Sharma wants to know that how real is the COVID scare in reality? Are we overreacting? And are we going to design for this overreaction or not?
So who would like to go and answer this, take this question?
Oh, look, I'll have an attempt at answering that question. Yep. Look, are we overreacting? Look, no, I don't think so. I think it's human nature to be very, you know, very cautious. And, you know, a lot of people have lost lives, and I think everyone is concerned about, you know, elderly folks or grandparents, so on and so forth. But at the same token, look, the world does move on. Things do progress. And I think that's one of the great things about human nature is the mind's ability to sort of forget bad experiences and move on with positive ones. And I'm sure as we travel through this, and, you know, whether we find a vaccine or not, I think, you know, I think eventually, you know, human nature will prevail and you know, life will slowly get back. May not be the normal we've known in the past, but a new normal.
Yeah. So, and if going by the audience response, if the vaccine comes out in another month, people are free to travel then.
It's not coming out in another month.
No, just kidding. But yes, I think actually the scare is real at the same time, but with precautions. I think following the norms, now we are seeing that the protocols are also changing. Earlier, any doctor would say if you were sneezing, just go for a check. But now, unless you show serious symptoms, you do not check, even after a week.
I think that's right. I think there's like this idea of civic responsibility, and I think everyone has a role to play. And obviously the headline one is social distancing, but, you know, the extension of that is if you are feeling ill, well, maybe don't go out. But like I said, that will be the new normal we'll need to get used to.
Yeah.
Okay, another
Yes.
interesting question I had, and I think Reema would be the right person to answer this. Is there any authority or some kind of a government body that is setting up standards for what should happen, especially for the hospitality industry? Or is it going to be industry determined? Each hotel group, like the Taj, for example, would determine their own standards?
So that's a very valid question, I must say. So yeah, I mean, right now it's I'm quite amazed to see the entire industry coming together. So we all are working together to put together, bring the standards right, and to make our hotels very comfortable and very safe place for our guests to experience. Whether the mortality rate is 10%, 2%, or even 1% or 0.1%, we need to make our hotels comfortable and safe for guests. Even if it is like 0.1%, whatever we can do, even to negate that, we would do that. And we have already worked on the standards. We are working with WHO. We are working with a lot of international bodies and globally, and we are putting together, rewriting standards, putting together to make the hotels really a safe place for our guests. There will be a change in the customer experience, the touch points, the BOH area, without being too much on the face. So all those things we are taking care of. Like we might just have to make some modification even in our operating standards, which we are okay with, and we are doing it already.
But essentially, it's going to be the industry that's going to set the rules itself.
Yes.
So it's like a self-regulation, so to say.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Another interesting question that's come from the last question was Amish Vibhakar, and now I have another one from Abhimanyu Dabas. He wants to know that because of the hotels, people are a little afraid of going to hotels. Will there be a shift towards homestay and Airbnb and so on, things like that? And will the bigger chains, including the Taj, will they be moving in that direction or not? Service apartments, Airbnb.
We already have. We have actually launched a brand called Ama, which is actually a sort of a service apartment. So we have chain of Ama. So that is that the need of that market is already there. But of course, right now there is a fear. We all in a lockdown. We see just so many news, and even the guests are not comfortable right now. Come out and experience the hotels. But I think we need to just reassure that our hotels are safe, and then things will be not normal, but there will be a new normal standard.
Would anyone else, any of the designers want to comment on that? In fact, because Siddharth,
yeah.
I want to ask you
Siddharth.
one specific question which Nilanjan asked you. Let's assume that, okay, that's not coming out next month, but it's definitely coming out maybe hopefully in a year or two. See, they say that the COVID will disappear when either every person on the planet has been infected or vaccinated. So let's assume that happens in 2 years, one way or the other. And either way, we lose 2% of our population. Fair enough. After that's over and done and dusted with, 2 years later, there is no COVID, the next pandemic may or may not come. How do you design? You have a greenfield project which takes 2 to 3 years to design. So do you design for COVID or do you design without COVID? Because you can't change tracks in between.
It's a tricky question.
what
Because we've all been talking about, and that's what I had asked, that, when you do a greenfield project, it's going to complete in 2 years, let's say. And by then, this particular pandemic would be taken care of. So what do we do then? So, or any one of the designers, even Ritu or Reema could.
Yeah, so I think there were two questions there. One was on Airbnb so I think Airbnb was quite a niche, but now the priority is going to be more towards looking at which spaces, safer and taking care of all these concerns. So I think Airbnb may take a beating for a while, is my guess, and people would probably prefer to go to brands and where the systems and the SOPs and all are taken care of. And the second question is that, yes, I think we do have to start designing now for the future, considering that there may be some similar situations in the future, because we don't know. And I did hear something quite from the Nobel laureates in medicine, that they said that we have to be better prepared for lockdown in future. Now that was very scary, because they were not saying we have to be better prepared for a pandemic, but just to be immediately locking down overnight. So considering all that, it does seem that yes, we do have to start planning these things. Just like I said, luggage scanners is a thing of it's done. You don't think twice about putting a luggage scanner or baggage check. We have people being checked at the hotel entrance,
or even being frisked, two, 3 times.
So just like that, there are going to be certain parameters which will be the norm going forward in designing and building hotels.
Ritu, in fact, one of the things that is probably the only proven action against COVID, it seems to be UV. And what is now coming out is, instead of the disinfection tunnels, we're talking about tunnels with UV rays.
Yes.
And also the same thing with conveyor belts, which is so very close to your luggage scanners, and wherein another box is attached to that, which has got UV rays in it. So everything is sanitized as it goes in and out. And the same UV rays are being scanners can be used for return air supply to rooms.
Yeah, one of our participants just mentioned in US, they are, Ajay Khanna just mentioned that they are already using UV scanners.
So even things like hotel rooms will have sanitizers. I think that's going to be more important than toiletries. I foresee guests taking back sanitizers and not toiletries anymore. And then your reception desks will have, sanitizers, will have a lot of technology is going to play a huge role. And I think India till now has been behind in adapting technology to hospitality, in check-ins, in check-in, check-out, connecting it to your TV screens. So we will be jumping the bandwagon on that, and having, using your mobile to enter the room, using your mobile to maybe as a remote control, which can be done. It's not something which is very difficult to start. And interfacing the other services of the hotel with the TV, so that the guest doesn't actually have to pick up any pamphlets anymore, and everything is on their screen. And hopefully we can, just from the airport, just go straight to the room, which is being done internationally. And as I said, we haven't really been looking at it much in India, because we believe in being warm and hospitable, and there are people there. So you can't negate the fact that there won't be people, but it will be more of, I would say, the guest option, that yes, you have technology to keep you safe and take you straight to the room. But at the same time, if you do want to meet someone, our team is there. So that's something I guess the brands would be looking at doing.
Marco, there's a question for you from the audience. And you mentioned about the beds having antimicrobial properties. How does that work on the virus? Is it any effective on the virus? Because one of the concerns is, how do you sanitize the mattress? Almost everything else in the bed, in the hotel room, can be sanitized. Probably the most difficult would be the mattress.
Well, that's right. Well, look, when you think of a sleep surface in a hotel or in any situation, it's usually covered, by either a mattress protector in a hotel situation, maybe even in the home, and then you've got sheets on top of it. So there's a lot of things, contagions have to move through before they get to the mattress. There isn't at the moment a treatment which you can apply to the surface of the mattress that is going to make it COVID safe, for the lack of a better word. But there are other antimicrobials which we can treat at the moment. So look, in terms of sanitizing a mattress, that happens post manufacturing. So there are treatments and cleaning techniques which you can use, which I've been led to believe can treat mattresses that may have, been in and around the virus, but that is not something you can do during the manufacturing process and move forward. Now that is an operational maintenance issue, and there are usually specialist cleaning companies that can help out on that aspect.
Marco, what seems to be worrying most of the audience is that one is in closer and more intimate contact with a mattress and a pillow than almost everything else in the room. Some things you
Yes.
just look at, some things you may just touch, but the mattress is something you sleep on for an extended period of time. Your face is actually touching the mattress and the pillow almost at every time. So that's where the bigger fear is, because it's not that it can't be sanitized or it can't or UV can't be used on it, but you know that the proximity to that mattress is what is bothering people.
Yeah, look, and I think, I'm not sure who mentioned this earlier, it might have been Ritu or Reema, you know, the idea of, you know, good hygiene practices in the room and cleanliness practice by the cleaning staff. I think that's going to be even more important than ever before. And maybe moving forward, the mattress will be part of that, a part of the cleaning or the housekeeping cycle in refreshing the room for the next guest to come in.
Can I also add to that, Hemant, that even in our hospitality, the housekeeping standards, there is a shift post-COVID. Because earlier we used to vacuum the room and clean it and do the deep cleaning. Now we sanitize. And there is also a standard that, you know, your room is sanitized. You're the first one who's entering. In case you don't want to see any of the housekeeping or any of the staff to come and do the room service in the evening, turn down service, even that is possible. So like, we give the key to you. After that, 3 days, 4 days, how much long your stay is, the room is yours, and no staff will enter the room because it's sanitized only for you. So that will also make things very comfortable for the guest and make it a big difference. So these are like new norms which we might have to adapt to.
And I think every little step will help gaining the confidence of the guest.
Yes.
Okay, now since we love controversy, I will have a very nice controversial question. Since there are 6 people on the panel, 5 Indians and 1 person currently from Australia. Narendra has asked me a question. He says, I used to import a lot of my stuff from China. What do we do post-COVID?
Sorry, I missed that.
He said, I used to import a lot of stuff, like furniture and other things from China. What happens post-COVID?
Oh, look, I might chime in here and answer this question. As a business, we actually operate 5 manufacturing units in China. But we actually have manufacturing units across the whole Asia Pacific, where we're part of we believe in a make local sort of manufacturing culture. Look, I don't think, you know, I think it's easy to say we shouldn't buy things from China or look, we could say any country. It's really about, you know, who is your supplier and can you trust that supply chain? So when I think about our business, I don't think about made in China. I think about made by Sealy. And when it's made by Sealy, it doesn't matter whether it's made in China or Australia or in the US. It's built to the same standard, the same quality standard, the same inspection standards. So I think going forward, yes, you should do better due diligence on your suppliers. Yes, you shouldn't necessarily always look for the cheapest. Look for who does the best thing that you want to buy and that you can be assured are going to make great quality. I think that's probably the more important thing rather than the country of origin per se. Now, that's my response anyhow. Maybe someone has an alternate view.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the other panelists on this one.
Yeah, I have a view on that.
Yes.
I am actually being a hospitality designer, experience creator, writer, whatever. After so many hotels, I am actually a strong believer of promoting India and Indian products. This is what we keep telling to our designers. We encourage them to use because India is no less. I mean, when it comes to fabrics, we go to US, we go to China to import the fabrics. But if you see all these fabrics, they are being manufactured in India and then goes to US and China for further refinements. So I think it will give us a good opportunity to use our own products to promote India, Indian and local products in a much better way than before.
Anyone else wants to take that? Bite the Chinese bullet.
Hemant? Hello?
Yes, Siddharth.
Yes, Siddharth, please. I want to hear the Goan point of view.
Hemant, couple of hotels. I had been to China, but after I completely agree with Reema. There are quite a few of factories, manufacturers, designers in Goa in India who are equally good. They might they might just require some uh, promotions, or they have to just tweak little bit from their side from the quality aspects. But we have equally good people in India. I completely agree with Reema.
No, I'm taking you off the design parameters and now talking more on politics and a little bit of nationalist fervor that's building up in this country and in the US and across the world, and a slightly negative anti-China campaign that's going on. A trade war is out there in the open between the US and China. India has already blocked Chinese and neighboring countries investing in FDI beyond a certain point. So the what is happening in Ladakh is known to all. What is the future there, and how will it affect our industry? China is being one of the biggest suppliers of, and I remember times when we designed a hotel, made one mock-up room, shifted the entire mock-up room to China, and the rest of the hotel has come from there.
So we could also, and this, Hemant, my point is, we could also look at modular systems instead of importing a lot of things in the hotel industry, in the hospitality industries. Furniture's already modular. Entire. I'm sure I have seen the way the entire toilet modules are just brought in and fixed in situ. So a lot of that can be produced locally. And India has been a huge manufacturing setup. All these years we have been. And a lot of boutique properties are furnished by the local market. And textiles, be it furniture, all the things, I think the Indian market is there to cater to all the needs. Why do we always have to look for China? And now it's not going to be a cheaper solution with air travel also, becoming expensive and other, things, factors coming in.
You see, because to answer
Travel.
Marco, I would also like to say that while I say yes, Sealy is the manufacturer, and if I'm convinced with the Sealy's quality, I would definitely buy the mattress. Fact remains is if my country's authorities impose some kind of a restriction or just even a higher duty on Chinese products or products of Chinese origin, which is already there. There's anti-dumping on tiles, for example. And tiles we know that get routed through Sri Lanka and Dubai and God knows how many other places. So if anything like that happens, automatically it's not anymore my choice or any one individual's choice. I will not be able to buy that mattress, or it's unviable to buy the mattress from, even though it's a Sealy mattress, because it's being produced in China. The certificate of origin says manufactured in China.
Yeah, look, I think one of the points I made earlier is that we believe in a make local. So, I'm a big advocate for, buying locally. It doesn't matter what country you're in. And I think, I agree with, a few of the panelists. India has so many great things to offer, whether it be experience or manufacturing. It's just a matter of finding the good quality suppliers and having trustworthy people who can do that. And I think that's the job of, people like me or, the other panelists or other people in the crowd who are sort of saying, we've got to find good suppliers. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Plenty of local people have great capabilities.
Hemant, I've got a question from a friend from Dubai. Can I pose it to the panelists?
Please go ahead.
So this is Amish Vibhakar. He happens to be my classmate from architecture days. And he's in fact, he was heading the IMAR hospitality. He was director of the technical services, IMAR hotels. And he is asking that when it comes to the construction of these budget hotels, will it lead to higher costs in executing them because of all these extra elements that we are discussing, the technology, and the need to provide for maybe larger public spaces per room? Maybe we may need larger dining areas to maintain that social distancing for the entire capacity of the hotel. Will that lead to a higher real estate cost and also a higher cost of, furbishing? Would Reema or Ritu, we like to take that?
It's a very interesting question. I think in terms of technology and housekeeping material, yes, costs are going to go up for hotels. That's what we're already hearing. But I think in terms of real estate, and I would not increase the space of a budget hotel, because then that defeats the purpose of calling it a budget hotel. So I would not change the specifications of area, but I would relook at other aspects. So a budget hotel, the room is already, if you look at IBIS, it's 18 square meters. And if you look at Fairfield, it's a little more, probably 22 and things like that. So I wouldn't, you can't change the room area, but you can relook at public spaces. You could probably, like I said earlier, you could limit it to one F&B space. You may even want to do away with F&B if you are in a smaller, or if you're in a city like Bombay or Delhi where you have enough F&B outside, you don't need F&B. But if you're in a 2-tier, 3-tier city, then yes, the guest needs an F&B. You may want to do away from meeting rooms if the feasibility feels that you do not need to really give a meeting room space. So then I would probably give that to a larger transitional circulation space than force a meeting room in because the brand standard says you have to have 2 meeting rooms. So these things have to be rethought rather than just saying, oh, I need more real estate to have social distancing. So this is where together you have to come in, the brand, the architect, the designers all have to rethink this. And I would not want to increase budgets for interiors or architecture at all, because already costs are a struggle.
Right. Thanks, Ritu. Thanks for
Can
that.
I also add more to this? So when it comes to, we used to spend a lot of money for hotels to look good, interiors.
Yeah.
Hotel owners are more comfortable spending a little extra on the interiors. But when it comes to technology, even like a bit more, they would not like to do that. But I think this will make things more rational. Will be more realistic about per key cost or per square feet cost for the interiors, and do just what is required and not overdo it for the budget hotels, and pay attention to technology, which is actually required in India. So we'll be more rational with that. And of course, the social distancing and all that, and then reimagining it and then creating lobbies go out of the window in terms of commercial viability, because like if you're maintaining too much of social distancing, how it's going to make business sense? So I think we have to just change the model of way we design spaces. Like most of the time, the travel access is not being kept, and we have like those negative corners coming. Now, after this, we might have to pay more attention to the travel access, and automatically a social distancing will be there. You won't have like a cluster of things and then negative spaces, which tend to be taking you to the corridors. You will first design guest travel access, and then design rest of the areas. So there will be a bit of shift in the approach, which I think is all for good. And it's a correction which is actually required.
Right. So
okay, I have a comment, sorry, Nilanjan, just to jump in. I have a comment that's coming from our common friend, Madhu Chandok, and I think most of the people on the panel know her. So I'm going to do something tricky that we can do, and I'll promote her to a panelist, and you'll see her live in a minute. And then she can join in the conversation, because now it's question answer time anyway.
Yeah, and then we can have a quick poll also.
Yeah, we can end with that poll, and I hope Madhu is online. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
Hi, Madhu. How are you?
Hey, Madhu. Good to see you here. She did come in.
We have the...
I think Rishu is doing the normal check and protocol.
Hi, Madhu.
Hi, how are you?
You're a panelist now.
Yeah.
Hi, Madhu.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
to see you here.
Same here, same here.
Madhu had a nice comment on what Reema had said, so I thought let her say it for herself.
Yeah, what I was actually, and I want to give you this example because I've experienced it myself. It's not just the make in India or something, but it's the quality. And our artisans actually are really hungry to come to us and actually it's if you go to Rajasthan, for instance, and if you are there, or if you go to down south, we all, as the architecture and design fraternity, need to come together on a platform so that we could actually push. It's like we are saying, okay, let's just, not buy anything from China. Let's all say, let's buy everything Indian. And, let's just put, and as Reema said very clearly, I think unless and until it comes from each one of us, it will not happen. And, today Ritu might have a very good experience with 5 Indian designer manufacturers. Nilanjan might have with 10 more. Siddharth might have with few, Hemant might have with 10, I might have with 20. Can you imagine the database that we can put together for the fraternity in terms of the ability, whether we divide them into the FFNE categories? And IIID is going to do that definitely under, and I'm happy to support, Hemant on that. But I think this is something which has to come from us as passion. And I'll give you a very simple example. My son was getting married, and I'm not getting into the design aspect. And I went to Chandni Chowk, and I went into all these lanes myself alone. And I thought I'll spend 1 hour. I was there for 8 hours. And, it's like a treasure, unexplored treasure that we have, which we don't even know. So I think we have to it has to come from us. And then if we are convinced, we can convince owners. Like if Reema is convinced that, there is this furniture manufacturer, this lighting manufacturer who can give quality light. I think life cycle analysis for product procurement is very important. If we've done that homework, I always tell everyone, I said, we can just be deaf and just keep on saying. If not today, in 6 months, the owner will listen. I've had this experience really live by myself. So I think that's what is important. It makes us proud, to be Indian. That's what.
Very good point, Madhu. Thanks. Yeah, Reema.
This point during my conversation, I said that let's not waste this crisis to come out strong.
Yeah.
I think we all as a community, we should come together and support India and Indian products, which are fabulous. There is nothing wrong in it. Workmanship and everything is fabulous. And we all should unite, and it's part of our social service to the community. And so many job losses, and hospitality itself contributes to 35% of jobs. And if we can come together and promote Indian products, imagine the kind of jobs we can create in the community.
Exactly.
So, Hemant, can we have a quick round of poll if we have the time?
The poll. Until then, I'm trying to find another person I want to make live. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Ritu, run the poll, please.
So we'll wait for the audience response. So would you book a stay in a hotel if the rates are reduced? Yes, maybe, or no? Quickly submit your responses. Yeah, we have 85% people in, 90% people responded already. There you go.
Well, the scare is very much there.
Yes, let's have the results now.
60%.
So a lot of people are saying yes. Some are saying maybe if they are reduced drastically. And 60% are still saying they would just not book a hotel room in the next 6 months. Like they said.
There's a question that's coming from Rita from Goa. So I thought if I can get her also to join us if she is live. We'll get to know in a second. Is she there? Or
this is a nice attribute and a good thing, Hemant, that we can get people
that's
like
that's what I'm doing. I'm monitoring all the
live.
questions and I'm seeing if there are people who are connected to the industry and
yeah, they can come on live. Yeah, that's the advantage of a live session.
True.
And there are a huge round of. I think the audience response has also been very encouraging. They have been participating and posing very interesting questions for all of us.
Rita is joining in. Hi Rita, how are you?
Hi.
You're
Hi
mute.
Rita. Welcome. Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself,
Unmute
Rita.
yourself.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Rita.
Okay, ask your question now.
I don't know, I just felt that everyone is not actually focusing on what the issue is. I think we should handle each subject like we don't have laborers. Everybody's gone to their hometowns. Who is going to do the work? So we have to focus on materials. We have to look at artisans, which are to the locale. And that will also give a certain character to the space that you'll be living in. So Goa will have its own sort of ambience. Somewhere else, you will get the Rajasthani look, which is the real essence of the place. And that is another thing, like going back to nature. So we'll be appreciating the nature and sort of highlights of the place. This is just a wild idea. So I don't know what the panelists would have to say to that.
No, it's a very true point, Rita, that it will bring about a lot of sustainability in longer terms if we use our local artisans, local materials, local technology, whatever is locally sourced, because that is what will give the local flavor to the tourists. And we have so much of inbound tourists. All these years we've had all the international tourists, they come for that experience, the Indian experience. They travel to Rajasthan for that experience, to Gujarat for a different experience, to the south in Kerala for a different experience. So I think you have a very, very valid point. And going forward, if we source locally, it's, I think, the greenest thing to do, right? Would any one of the panelists like to comment on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Siddharth.
I just want to add one more point to what Rita has said. You also have to take local architects, designers, artisans. You cannot, they are the guys who will get you the local flavors. Yeah. So many a times the franchise hotels have imported architects or got from separate countries. And then we are brought on the panel as local architect to get a flavor. Now that is something I think should change in the long run.
Perfect, Siddharth.
I totally agree with you, Siddharth, because even I have been always I was with Hilton for almost like 5 years. And this was my internal battle all the time, that why do we have to, always get people from overseas? And today, it's again, a treasure because we don't talk enough. I think we as Indian designers, architects and everything, we probably do not come out so much. Like in hospitality, we always say that, the chefs, he says, I cannot make that cuisine if I don't have that ingredient, and he just says, I'm not introducing that recipe in the restaurant, etc. Similarly, here as well, we also probably have to get together as I said, I think unless and until we all are together and we form united, and I think this pandemic is blessing in disguise for all of us to probably even connect remotely so often than, actually really in real life, because we've been just doing our bit. And so rightfully, Rita, the artisans at the base need to be helped. And that's the challenge. And that's the challenge that if each one of us takes, supposing I say, okay, I am going to push artwork. So that's the domain that I pick up. Somebody picks up furniture. Somebody picks up, we all know that what are we picking up and then what are we trying to push, whether it is. So I think there's a lot to do for all of us as well, if we want to give back to the society and be also local. So there was very nice word, we think global, but we cook local. So, that's what it is. So we have to think globally, but we have to cook locally. So I think that's where that's where our actually expertise, because together we are much stronger.
So I do that. I have a term. I called it glocal.
Glocal. Yeah.
Global and local mixed. Glocal.
Yeah, glocal. Exactly.
And or we can say we can be a little selfish and look at our own people first, you know,
Yes.
selfish.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's a new term, selfish. Whatever is local, whatever is near and dear to us, let's promote that. We are proud of our own culture, our traditions, our heritage. In fact, heritage tourism, I'm sure, will do very well now. It'll really pick up, and there's so much, everything, all things Indian will. I think I'm very proud of our culture and artisans, crafts, traditions. It's so rich in everything. I think we need to be very, very conscious, and that's been the biggest thing in this panel discussion today. That all of us feel that we are going to bounce back. We are going to do well again, and India will be one hell of a tourist destination very soon with all the experiences that we can create for people.
The resorts will bounce back very soon.
Yeah.
You'll see. The resorts will bounce back, like I would say. That's what I feel. From a safety, security, you know, hygiene, everything point of view, nature.
Yeah.
So we have to embrace nature. That's
Any last comments, anyone? Because we are about time to, in fact, we already overshot our time. So,
okay.
Any last comments, last words? Ritu, starting with you.
Well, I think Modi ji had wanted us to travel to 5 Indian destinations per year, which he had said in his second term. And I think we are going to be making that come true anyways, thanks to this. I definitely am very, I've always promoted, you know, traveling in India. I think there is so much of our country which is yet to be seen. And this will give the opportunity for more hotels to come up in remoter places, because while we enjoy I mean, I'm an avid traveler and an avid traveler in India, and but I do feel that there's not enough good hospitality in certain places. So this is an opportunity for hospitality to grow in our country. And definitely, as Madhu and Rita said, you know, promote local artisans. We at TID have been very passionate about art, and at least for art and artifacts, we work with local artisans. So definitely going to promote and support that. Thank you.
Marco, your words. Final.
Yeah, look, I think probably I want to add one last thought, and I think this is important as an industry and for the industry, and I think it supports the make local and the made in India, is that I think what happens is that there's this drive on cost and not on quality. And I think that leads you down to make decisions on where you source things. And I think consumers, hotel guests are willing to pay more for a good experience. And to deliver a good experience, you need to have quality products. And, you know, I can say this from being a supplier of premium products, that more often than not, you have to have a debate. Why should we buy more? We can just buy cheaper elsewhere. And I think it's our responsibility to promote quality, and whether that quality is made local, excellent, even better, but just quality in general. And that can be quality in raw materials, it can be quality in service, it can be quality in the hotel room, whatever it is. So we're promoting local, very, very important. Promoting quality, probably even more important, because that's going to ultimately deliver the great guest experience which we're trying to provide in the hospitality industry.
Reema, your last thoughts, please.
So my last word would be 2 hours. Reset and restart, and promote local products, promote India, Indian designers, Indian products, and create a reset and restart.
That's short and sweet. And Siddharth, unfortunately, seems to have disappeared once again. So our guest panelist, Rita, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just mentioned in the chat box, I think the 2 words should be the go away for this, take away from this.
Local and selfish is what you've written.
Yes, I think that's superb.
Thanks, Rita. And Madhu, any last words from you?
I think we are in it together and we'll come out together. So that's what
Great.
Let's not work as an individual, work as
Yeah,
a
that's what it is.
together.
Let's work at.
Yeah.
I think it's a time of partnership. That's what I
Yes.
always say.
Show
It's a
unity
partnership.
and
Global.
solidarity.
It's an internal partnership time.
Yeah.
Nilanjan, time for you to wrap up now.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank all the panelists, Ritu, Reema, Marco, and also Siddharth, who's gone for
coming and
his
going.
Fenny. But again, also thank you to Madhu and Rita for joining in. And very nice to have you all on board and sharing your views and wide-ranging views. And thank you to all the audience for your active participation. And the way forward, as we all see, is to collaborate and grow together. Yeah, co-create and let's grow together.
Great. Thank you, Nilanjan, and thank you everyone
Thank you.
for
Thank
taking
you.
your time out. And Naik, Rishu, you can run the PPT for Welspun once again to our sponsors. Thank you once again. And once again, thank you to our 7 chapters. Siddharth, who seems to have disappeared, so now I can officially thank him. And of course, Jaipur, Mumbai, Chandigarh, Mangalore, and Coimbatore for helping us set up this webinar. Rishu, take it away, all yours. Thank you, everyone. And I see Siddharth is back. So, Siddharth, you get the chance to make the final words if you want to, if you can still get back on the screen. Rita, smoking is not allowed in this webinar. Okay, Siddharth couldn't make it back because I wanted to actually ask Siddharth who wrote his introduction speech. I want to smoke whatever the guy is smoking. Well, anyway, thank you everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon in another webinar very soon. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Reema. Thanks, Ritu again. We'll be in
Thank
touch.
you.
See you.
Thank you.